Hello there, welcome to the Football Block. My name is Brent, and today we're going to look back at the round of 16 matches, see how my predictions went, and give a brief recap of each match. If that sounds interesting, then let's hop right into it. So, the round of 16 has come to a finish. There's only 8 teams left. 8 new teams have gone home. Now let's take a look back at each match, see what happened, see how my predictions went, see if I was right or wrong, things like that. So, without further ado, let's start off with the first match of the round of 16. We had the Netherlands versus USA, my team right here, and unfortunately, this was the last game for the U.S. at the 2022 World Cup. The Netherlands came out 3-1 winners. It wasn't the most dominant win ever, but for the most part, the Netherlands fully deserved to go through. Now, my prediction was that it would be a really tight game, that the U.S. would dominate maybe the first half, the beginning part of the match, and would score first, only for them to tire themselves out and the Netherlands to get back into it. And then I said that it would be tied 1-1 going into penalties, and that the U.S. would shock the Netherlands and go through on penalties. Obviously, that did not happen. I thought that the U.S. did come out of the gate swinging, and we probably should have opened the score. Pulisic had a wonderful shot that was saved by Noppert with his foot. It was a really, really good reaction save, but Pulisic probably should have scored there. But from that moment on, I thought that the U.S. had good chances. We looked good, but then going back defending, we did not cover those last runners, late runners making it into the box. All 3 of the Dutch goals were scored by a late runner coming into the box without cover. And the Netherlands raced to a 2-0 lead in the first half. And then in the second half, the U.S. looked demoralized. We tried. We did get a goal from Haji Wright. Don't know how much he knew about that goal. It kind of deflected off his heel and went in, but still, a goal's a goal. And just as the U.S. looked like we were getting into it, like we could possibly get an equalizer, the Netherlands scored yet another late runner into the box. Denzel Dumfries put the game to bed. But still, I'm not devastated. Obviously, I'm upset that the U.S. lost. I would have rather the U.S. won, but I didn't expect the U.S. to win this game, and the fact that we made it this far is already an achievement. So, good overall World Cup for the U.S. The Dutch, on the other hand, I don't really think that they look that convincing, if I'm being perfectly honest. They've been a solid team. They're a very good team, and they deserve to be this far, but you compare to, say, France or Brazil or, Portugal or Argentina, these teams made statement wins. They've gone far. They've had, just monstrous performances, whereas the Netherlands, they kind of just got the job done. So it'll be interesting to see where they go from here. Now let's look on to the other match from that day. We had Argentina versus Australia. And this match on paper looks a lot closer than it actually was, because Argentina came out 2-1 winners, and it really could have been 4-1, 5-1, but Lautaro Martinez missed a whole lot of chances in the second half. And Australia's goal that they scored was a relatively lucky goal. Goodwin kind of just hooved the ball towards the net. It bounced off Enzo Fernandez's face and crept into the goal. My prediction was that Argentina would win 2-0. I thought Australia would defend well. They would, just pack their half with all their players, all 11 players. But ultimately, Argentina's superior talent would show through, and that's ultimately what happened. And I was so close. I was really aggravated by that last Australian goal, because I said to my friend while watching the game, I was like, all right, Argentina's going to win 2-0. Messi will score the first goal, and then Julian Alvarez will score the second. And that's exactly what happened. And my prediction was 100% correct until Goodwin had to hoof the ball at Enzo Fernandez's face. But, still, a win's a win. Argentina go through. Like I said, the win looks a lot more closer on paper than it really was in real life. All right, so now let's look on to the next few matches. We have France versus Poland here. France with a statement win, 3-1 win over Poland, and I thought that for the most part they played pretty well. Now there were some moments there where Poland looked like they could score or even take the lead. Lloris had to make a triple save at one point in the first half, but still France looked dominant, especially in attack, and especially Kylian Mbappe, who scored twice, had an assist here. He looked so dominant. Easily the best player of the tournament so far, and there's been some good individual players so far. Messi, for example, you can say Harry Kane, Antoine Griezmann as well, but Mbappe with 5 goals now and 2 assists, Golden Ball and Golden Boot leader at this moment. He had a statement performance. Giroud also scored. He opened the score to put France 1-0 up, and he now becomes France's all-time leading top goal scorer, which is crazy. He overcame Thierry Henry, and then Mbappe with 2 goals later on in the second half. And then in the 90th minute, in a really humorous sequence of play, Lewandowski missed a penalty, but then it was retaken because Lloris went off his line, and then he finally scored. My prediction was that France was not actually going to have that good of a performance, but they would ultimately go through. I said they'd win 2-0. I thought Poland was going to make it really tough for them, and I think that's how it looked like in the first half. Poland was making it really tough for them. They were defending, but once Poland did concede, I feel like the tired legs started to set in, and they weren't able to motivate themselves, and France was able to just run the game from there. It wasn't the most dominant performance from France. I don't think that they completely destroyed Poland, but it was a very good performance, and also obviously a very good performance from Mbappe. But still, yeah, I got the right team going through and the right goal difference as well. So not a bad prediction there. Now let's move on to England versus Senegal. Now this match I thought was going to be really tight. I said that England was going to win 1-0. I thought Senegal were going to make it really tough, but ultimately England were going to push through. And in the first, I would say maybe 20 minutes, Senegal was actually the better team. Jordan Pickford had to make 2 really important saves against Bouloudia. And it was looking like Senegal were dominating the game, but then they left themselves open. England came through on the counterattack. Jordan Henderson scored a goal after a very nice build-up play. And a similar thing happened towards the end of the second half. Harry Kane finally scored his first goal of this World Cup, but it was yet another counterattack. England looked extremely dangerous on the counterattack, and after they raced to a 2-0 lead, similar story with the game France versus Poland, where Senegal kind of, they just looked tired, they looked unmotivated, and England just lost the game from that moment on, and they scored another goal from there. My prediction, I was wrong in the sense that I didn't get how the match would play out, but I did have England correctly going through. Not that big of a shock, not that big of a, prediction, not that big of a great prediction there. I think everyone would have thought that England goes through. So anyway, let's move on to the next match. We have Japan versus Croatia, and I have to say, I think this match was the closest match we've seen at this World Cup so far. Group stage, knockout stage, whatever. This was the closest game. It really could have gone either way. I thought neither team dominated either half. Both teams had close chances. There weren't a whole lot of chances in this game, but both teams had a few of them. Japan opened the score in the first half. A really nice build-up play. Maeda tapped the ball in, and then early in the second half, Perisic with a beautiful header equalized. And then from that moment on, it really looked like neither team was going to win. It looked like it was destined for penalties since the beginning of the match, and it did go to penalties. And the difference there was Croatia was very good in the penalties. Livakovic in goal for Croatia made 3 saves. And on the other hand, Japan's penalties were atrocious, I have to say. It's such a shame because they worked so hard to get to this point, and then their penalties were really, really bad. So in the end of the day, penalties had to be the decider, and Croatia had the better penalties, and they go through. My prediction was that Japan was going to win 1-0. I thought it'd be, a goal in the second half. It'd be really, really close, but ultimately they would go through. That is not what happened. I did predict that the game would be very close, but ultimately Croatia was the one that found themselves into the quarterfinals. All right, so the next match we have here is Brazil versus Korea. My prediction was that Brazil was going to go through, and I thought that they would win 1-0, but it'd be a dominant 1-0 win with Korea defending for their lives, similar to how basically all the other teams that have faced Brazil have lined up. Now, that is not what happened. Obviously, as you can see here, Brazil did end up going through. But it was not a 1-0 scoreline. It was 4-1, and it really could have been more. Korea went for it. They did not sit back and defend. Now, I think that they just don't have the talent to be able to sit back and defend. So, but either way, it was honorable from them. They tried to go toe-to-toe with Brazil, and they did force Alisson into some really good saves, and they did score a goal. Now, granted, it was in the second half after Brazil had already taken their foot off the gas. Still, it was a very nice goal, but Brazil, this is a statement win from Brazil. Like, throughout the rest of the tournament, they've looked really strong defensively, but going forward, they've been a little flat, especially since Neymar was ruled out with injury for those 2 games. But now Neymar's back. The attack looked great. Richarlison looks great. Paquetá, as well as Vinicius, Rafinha, everyone seems to be playing well. They look like they're having fun. They're doing all the dances and everything like that. They've actually got some stick from the media for the dances. Now, in my personal opinion, I think that's, that's part of their culture. There's nothing wrong with having a little fun at the World Cup. I mean, it's the World Cup. It's Brazil at the World Cup. Come on, like, have a little fun, right? But Brazil looked really, really good. They raced to a 4-0 lead in the first 45 minutes. I believe it was in the 30th minute or something when Paquetá put in that 4th goal. And some of these goals were beautiful. I mean, each and every one of them. Neymar had a really good penalty. Vinicius had a wonderful strike, similar to Mbappe's first goal against Poland. That 3rd goal, though, where Richarlison dribbled the ball. It was like a seal dribble off his forehead. He passed it out to, I believe it was Marquinhos, who passed it out to Thiago Silva, who passed it back to Richarlison. Easy finish. Goal of the tournament contender right there. And then Paquetá had a really good volley as well. So this game, I thought, was a really fun game to watch. And my prediction, obviously, was not correct in that the game was going to be close on paper. It was not close on paper or on the field at all. And Brazil march on to the quarterfinals. Now let's move on to Morocco versus Spain. And we have our first and only shock of the knockout round so far, with Morocco defeating Spain on penalties. Now, this match was insane because Spain had so much of the ball. They had so much possession. And Morocco, they didn't seem flustered. They didn't seem panicked. They just sat back. They looked so comfortable. And they were really dangerous on the counter. Now, like the Japan versus Croatia game, this was really tight. I thought, if you just look at how both these teams played, it really could have gone either way. But if anything, you can argue Morocco was slightly the better team. They had more dangerous chances, I would say. There wasn't that many chances overall in this match, but Spain up front, with all the possession they had, they just could not put the ball in the back of the net. They could not create any really dangerous chances, and I think the midfield was shut down. I thought Amrabat did a great job for Morocco. He didn't allow Sergio Busquets to have that much space on the ball. Same with Gavi and Pedri. And then up top, I think not starting Morata, it was a strange decision from Luis Enrique. Now, again, Morata is Morata, but still, he's been really good this term. He's been Spain's top goal scorer. He hasn't had any Morata moments. He's also a striker. Spain played without a striker, and I think you can just see how this team plays. Without a striker, they didn't have a focal point for their attacks. Morocco, on the other hand, Morocco's defense, I think, so far, like I just talked about how great Brazil's defense was, but statistically, Morocco had the best defense in this tournament up to this point. They've only conceded 1 goal, and it was an own goal against Canada. And my prediction was that Spain would win 3-2. I thought it was going to be a high-scoring game, and that's probably my worst prediction here. That it was not a high-scoring game at all. It was 0-0. Morocco go through on penalties, and Spain, like I just said, could not put the ball in the back of the net. And I'm kind of disappointed in myself that I didn't give Morocco's defense much more the credit that they deserve, because like I just said, Morocco has the best defense in the tournament up until this point. Now, when it came to penalties, similar story with the Japan-Croatia game. Spain just dropped the ball. They had awful penalties. They was really, really bad. And then Bono in Morocco's goal, wonderful game and wonderful penalty shootout. And Morocco deservedly go through to the quarterfinals. And we'll see how far they go from there. On to the final match. We have Portugal versus Switzerland. 6-1. What a blowout we have here. Yet another statement win. So far, we've seen all the big teams really show up, with the exception of Spain. And Portugal here, I thought they played beautiful. Now, Fernando Santos decided to start Ronaldo on the bench, which was a momentous decision from him, but ultimately it paid off with Gonçalo Ramos starting and scoring a hat-trick. He had a wonderful game, hat-trick, 1 assist as well. João Felix had a wonderful game as well. So did Bruno And so did a bunch of other players for Portugal's team, Pepe as well. And I don't think it was a case of Switzerland playing bad. I thought Switzerland looked okay. They didn't really, play awful, or they didn't give up. They tried hard. It was just Portugal was that good. And my prediction was that Portugal and Switzerland would tie this game. I thought Switzerland would really give Portugal a run for their money, but ultimately Portugal would go through on penalties. That is not what happened at all. Portugal completely crushed Switzerland. At no point did it look like Switzerland was going to get back into the game. They did get a goal, but it was a really lucky goal. Portugal was unfortunate to concede that. It was off a deflection off a corner. But I got to say, Portugal looked really scary going into the next rounds. And Ronaldo came off the bench. He looked happy. He looked fine. There's been conflicting reports in the media. Some people have been saying that he was angry. Some people saying he was completely okay. From what I saw, he looked happy. He looked fine. And he came off the bench and he almost scored on multiple occasions. He did score, but it was ruled off for offside. So I think Portugal looked fine with Ronaldo coming off the bench as a super sub. And I think Ronaldo looks fine with that as well. So anyway, that has been my reaction to all the games. I would say most of the teams I got going through, I predicted correctly. But for the most part, when it comes to scores and as well as the sequence of the match, my prediction was not the best. But hey, that's what we love about football. So far, all the big teams have been playing good, which is a stark contrast to 2018, where I thought even though as the big teams were progressing through, they were kind of just, sludging through each match. It's fun to see them play to their potential. But anyway, guys, thank you very much for watching. Let me know how you did with your predictions in the comments below. Don't forget to like and subscribe, share this video with a friend. My name is Brandon. This has been the Football Block. Hope you guys have a nice rest of your night.